Since the dawn of time, XRP has been trading in a range versus the rest of the crypto market. Sometimes we get positive news, the price shoots up, but most of the time when there is no news, the price tends to rather bleed. Now, is this potentially an opportunity? In this video, we're going to look at the on-chain data, the data most people tend to ignore. This here is the XRP price relative to the others market cap. So that's the market cap of the altcoins that are not in the top 10. In the last 6 years, XRP traded in a range, but that range is not perfect, as in the tops don't align that well. The bottoms also don't align perfectly. But when we don't look at XRP relative to the smaller altcoins, but relative to the rest of the crypto market, excluding stable coins, then we get a cleaner picture. Now the bottoms align a bit better. And again, we are trading in a range. Now have a look at this dotted line over here. The dotted line shows the average ratio of XRP relative to the rest of the crypto market, excluding stablecoins. So this is a stablecoin adjusted dominance chart. This chart tells us two things. First of all, XRP trades just like any other altcoin most of the times. It does not long-term outperform or long-term underperform. But it also tells us that every now and then, when we get positive news, we get a massive wave of outperformance. But outside of that, we tend to rather bleed. Hi, my name is Gerhard. I've been in the crypto game for the last 8 years. I hit my first million 3 years ago. And in this video, I want to share the approaches that I personally use in order to beat the market. On average, in the last 5 years, I have outperformed buying and holding Bitcoin by roughly 2% per month. The data is transparent on the website. The current open positions are of course blurred for the premium members. That's exclusive to them. But every single trade is logged. We've got the opening, we've got the closing, and we've also got the related messages that came with opening and closing the positions. I don't know any other influencer in YouTube that's willing to be that transparent. Now, XRP is special, as in it does have a very long history. It's the 5th largest cryptocurrency to date. And 13 years ago, it was the 3rd largest cryptocurrency. Now have a look at all of those other cryptocurrencies. This is now August 2013. Very few of those altcoins are still relevant. They all went to a market cap close to zero. XRP, Litecoin, those are still names that are around. But do you still remember Namecoin or Peercoin or Feathercoin, Novacoin, Primecoin? Those are all gone. XRP is one of the few survivors. And so in that sense, it's special. Still, it's struggling to outperform Bitcoin long term. Now, why is that? Have a look at this here. This is the number of circulating XRP tokens over time. This is simply the XRP market cap divided by the XRP price. The number of circulating XRP expands on average by 5.2% per annum. That inflation is higher compared to what Bitcoin has, for example. Bitcoin currently has an annual inflation of 0.8%, and this will go down to 0.4, 0.2, etc. as the halvings continue. So XRP is more inflationary, thus it needs to have a stronger growing demand compared to Bitcoin. If the demand for XRP does not constantly outperform and outgrow the demand for Bitcoin, then of course it has to underperform in terms of price as well. That's why XRP is struggling. We can see this in the long-term chart as well. For example, this here. This is the market cap of XRP over the years. And we can see how the recent cycle tops had been higher in market cap compared to, say, the top in summer 2018. So we did grow in terms of market cap, almost a 2x. However, have a look at the price during the same time period. The price did not double from 2018 to today. It only slightly grew, and that's all because of the token inflation. It requires more and more capital to push XRP to new heights. And that's generally a problem with the altcoin market. Have a look at the unlocks every week. This is now for all of the tokens that are listed on Tokenomics.ai. On average, we've got hundreds of millions of unlocks per week. Sometimes we're even breaking more than $1 billion per week. Now, what does this mean? If we don't see $1 billion worth of inflows on that particular week for the altcoins, then they are on aggregate underperforming Bitcoin. And that's in practice what we see, right? This is the performance of the altcoin market for all the altcoins that are listed on Binance in the last year. They're pretty much all going down, and that's because of the token inflation. Now, why do we have token inflation? It's because the insiders have to cash out, the early investors have to cash out, the team also gets vesting unlocks, they have to cash out as well. And when they are cashing out at a faster rate than there is demand by the retail investor, then this is the result. The situation for XRP is not as dramatic. Yes, it did underperform Bitcoin by 64% over the last years, but at least it was still able to stay within the top cryptocurrencies. At least it just went from number 3 to number 5. But there are tokens where this is much worse. For example, this here. This is WorldCoin. This is the WLD token. Here, the number of tokens went from 500 million all the way up to more than 5 billion. So a 10x in supply growth over the course of 3 years. And that's then what happens with WorldCoin. This is WLD relative to the altcoin market cap. Now, there are two potential takeaways we can get from this. The first one is just forget about all of the altcoins, just buy Bitcoin, and that's it. But the second takeaway, and that's what I personally do, is I take advantage of this asymmetry. This is a structural feature of the market. Most altcoins go down over time because of the token inflation. So why don't we just bet on the altcoins to go down over time long term? We can turn this chart into this chart. So this is now the cryptocurrency market cap divided by WLD. So we're betting on a falling WorldCoin price and a rising price or something else that's not as inflationary. That's where my outperformance is coming from. The average 5% return per trade, they don't come because I'm an oracle. They don't come from predicting the future. Actually, the number of winning trades and losing trades is equal for me. It's a coin flip, but the average winning trade is much larger than the average losing trade. And that's why there is an average long-term gain. It's simply because most altcoins go down over the long term. And it's not necessarily even the market cap that goes down. As with XRP, the market cap can actually grow from cycle to cycle. But the price, and that's what we are betting on, that has a hard time growing long term. Again, because more and more tokens hit the market. There is a beneficiary here, right? Those tokens go up for a reason. And you're probably not part of the club that's benefiting from that dynamic. So what does this mean for XRP? Per default, the price goes down, as it did already since summer of last year. And then every now and then we get those breakouts. So what can we do here? We can bet on a falling price of XRP, where at the same time, say at a rising price of Bitcoin, but then we set a very tight stop loss. So let's say we get a surprise rally like this again. We are not losing those 55%. We might only be losing, say, 10 or 15%. And then we continue to get our short squeeze, and that's fine. We just re-enter the position over here. But if we don't see a short squeeze, if we don't see a quick rally like this, if we don't have any positive news, then the bleeding will just continue and it will last for a long time. So we simply have to adjust our stop loss as we continue. And then when suddenly the turnaround comes, that's when we lock in the profit. That's fundamentally my approach with most altcoins. Now we can refine this a bit further, right? We can backtest what's actually the best stop loss. Where should we set this? How should we adjust this? Are there maybe moving averages that time the trends relatively well? We can quantify this further, but fundamentally that's the idea. If altcoins long-term bleed, we want to bet on that direction, but of course we want to also manage our downside risk in case there is a short squeeze. A short squeeze in the end is nothing else but short-term manipulation of a price. If enough people bet on a falling price of something, then the market makers might be incentivized to buy up a lot of the supply, push up the price, and then squeeze us out. This can work for the market makers, and it mainly works because people don't have proper risk management. But that's where the long-term winners and long-term losers divide. It is not that we are right all the time, it's rather that we don't lose as much when we are on the wrong side of the trade. If you found this video interesting, feel free to subscribe. I publish here regularly. A like would be very much appreciated as well. It helps the channel grow. Feel free to also check out the shorts on this channel. And there's of course the premium membership. This is where I share my own trades in real time. This is also where there is a copy trading vault. So in case you don't want to manually trade, there's also a copy trading vault that returns roughly 40% per annum. So that's what I did last year. And in this year, we are also on track to achieve that. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Cheers.